Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us this lunchtime for our How to Raise Money to Keep Your Community Active webinar in partnership with Sport England. So today we're going to be looking at how to access match funding through our funding partners, Sport England. We're also going to be looking at how to create a successful crowdfunding campaign. So we'll look at how you can go through that process. We're also joined by Joe from YMCA Taunton and Simon from Basingstoke Social and Sports Club. The two of them will be sharing their experience on their crowdfunding journeys, the highs, the lows, everything in between, some great tips and advice to hopefully help you all here on the call. Now, just a little bit of housekeeping before we get started. We have allowed an hour for today's session, and that does include a Q&A. So please do pop any questions that you might have into the chat box, which you should find at the bottom of your screen. Oh, we have a message coming into the chat now. Fabulous. We have a few people introducing themselves. So yes, please do use that chat box to also let us know where you're joining us from, maybe a bit about your organization. If you want to, you can put something about your project. You may already have a live campaign or maybe just your fundraising needs. And we can try and tailor the session as best we can to your needs throughout the next hour. This is live. However, we are recording the whole webinar. So keep an eye on your inbox. We will make sure that we send out a replay of today's session as part of a follow-up email, along with any links to resources that we think could be useful for you. So keep an eye out for that in the coming days. Now, if you do lose your internet connection, I know we've got one hell of a storm going on outside at the moment, which might interrupt your connection. Please just follow the link that you would have received for today's session to join the live room again. And you can always pop a little message into the chat box and we can bring you up to speed if you've missed out on anything. Okay, let's get started then. So I'm Zoe. I'm part of the team here at Crowdfunder. I'm the community manager, and it's my role within Crowdfunder to help support projects and organizations just like yourselves to have successful crowdfunding campaigns and where applicable and where eligible, access that match funding opportunity. So how does crowdfunding work then? You might be used to going out to your community and raising money, and that could be from in-person events, that could be digital fundraising via other platforms that are out there. Ourselves, Crowdfunder UK, we're a UK-based company. We've been around now for about 14 years, and within that time, we've seen huge success in supporting different projects from different walks of life raise money to get their ideas and their projects off the ground. We have a huge success with sports and physical activity-based projects, and we've been working with Sport England now for many years, along with also Sport Northern Ireland, Sport Wales. We've worked with British Cycling as well. So we've had really good impact, especially at a grassroots level with different sports and physical activity projects, raising the money that they need to be able to deliver their ideas to their community. So how does it work? First and foremost, you would set up a page with us. So you'd essentially set up a free to access profile. So you'd go on, you'd input a little bit of information about yourself or your organization, and then you'd be able to set up a crowdfunding campaign page. It does not take long to create that page. Like anything, the more you put into it, the more you will get out of it. The idea is to create a very engaging page. So that will involve things like adding images, maybe some testimonials or a few quotes from people that already engage with you. The idea really is to have a bit of a shop window into who you are and what you do. Try and make sure when you create that page that you keep it quite conversational and the story that you're telling on that page speaks to both people that are already kind of using your services, maybe it's your members, your participants, but then also the wider community too, who might not have much of an understanding of who you are, what you do, the community impact that you might already be having. So think about those two different narratives when you're creating that page. It's then up to yourselves to spread the word and actually promote your crowdfunding campaign page to your networks. Let everybody know around you that you're raising money, and there are different calls to action that you can use within that as well. So, of course, please can you donate? It might be, please can you share your campaign, our campaign page, sorry, with your networks. That's going to help to organically grow your audience. It could be asking if they might be able to provide or gift a reward to you in order to list that on your page. And we'll talk a little bit further about rewards later on in the session. There's lots of help and support available to you to make sure that you have as good a chance as possible to have a successful campaign. So please do engage with us. There's loads of advice on the website itself. And there's also sessions like this. We run regular drop-ins as well. You can come along and talk to us about your specific needs with your campaign. Ultimately, you will then go on to be successful and get funded. And you can access that money really quite quickly. So it can be a brilliant way to raise money in a potentially quite a short time frame in order to get those projects underway. You would then obviously need to deliver on any of those rewards that you may have listed on your page. So that might mean sending things out via the post. That might mean setting up a day where people come and collect things from you, or you need to email things out to people. So always factor that into your time frame as well. Just going to quickly check in on the chat box because we've had a few little messages coming in. Fabulous. Just lots of introductions. That's great. Thank you, Joe, also for sharing your project page into the chat box. So if you want to take a look at the YMCA Taunton project page, you absolutely can do. That will open up in another tab, and we will make sure that we send them through as well as part of the follow-up email. So you can take a little bit of inspiration from people who have been there and done that. Okay, so why would you raise money in this way? You might be very used to doing in-person fundraising, and that's great, and it definitely has its place. It's brilliant to connect with your audience face to face. I would say that there are some brilliant benefits that come along with crowdfunding that you may not be aware of. So first of all would be that validation in your ideas and what you're trying to achieve. It's a really low risk way of seeing if there is an appetite for what you're hoping to do, what you're hoping to spend that money on and achieve. And that can really help build your confidence as well. So when you do get that good feedback from your community, when you do see those donations coming in, that can really help boost your confidence in your own ideas. It can also really help to galvanize that community around you and have all of those individuals actually then being kind of confident in the project delivery. So they're going to feel part of this with you. That will bring along awareness, not only around your project idea. So a lot of funding bids, a lot of grant applications, they do happen behind closed doors. And actually, your community might only know of what's happening kind of when you cut the ribbon and it's all done. However, it can be really useful for your kind of community around you to have an understanding of what you're doing as an organization right from the beginning. And that will be putting everything out there onto that page, into that story, bringing them into this journey with you. That's going to help create a buzz around your ideas. It's potentially going to get you noticed by a wider audience, which could then lead to some really lovely partnerships, sponsorships, relationships going forward. And that just might help for the future of your organization as well. Having that transparency and being quite public facing with what you're doing can lead to some really meaningful partnerships and relationships going forward. Everybody that does donate to your campaign, share your campaign, talk about your campaign with their networks, they're advocating for you. It's going to help to build that engaged audience and foster those connections. So even here at Crowdfunder, we're just a team of individuals. We might not have any connection with your particular project. However, we see so many projects come through the platform each day. There will be some that resonate with us as individuals, whether it's that, it's happening in our hometown or it's within a sector which we take part in, whether that's, a hobby, physical activity. So actually putting things out there into kind of the public forum can really help to build that advocacy. And it might surprise you as to where that comes from as well. We do challenge you to really cast the net quite wide when it comes to your promoting and engaging that wider audience. And we've seen some really lovely evidence of that, where projects have been supported from, different countries, or they've had somebody get in touch who's an alumni in the sport or the physical activity, or even sometimes some celebrity endorsement, which they weren't expecting. You will no doubt develop some new skills, and we are on hand to kind of mentor you, signpost you, help you to gain those skills throughout the process. They can be really useful skills, transferable into other areas of the organization as well. Things like effectively creating copy or networking, promoting, online, telling an engaging story, writing a press release, all of those things can be really useful going forward. And then, of course, there's the extra funding offer or the match funding offer that I mentioned. We work with national and regional partners in order to distribute pots of funding to eligible projects and organisations, of which we're going to speak to Sport England. They're one of our prominent partners. But do check out the extra funding page on the website because you could be eligible for a few different pledges from different partners and you can receive more than one pledge. So you may be fortunate to be matched with and approved for the Sport England Movement Fund. You might also then be approved for a little bit of money from maybe your local authority that we work with or a different organisation too. So do check out everything that's on offer. So, why do we have such success within sport and physical activity then? Well, it's because really all of you on the call that work within that sector have so many elements of a successful crowdfunding campaign already kind of in existence. So the main thing really is that ready-made crowd. You will have beneficiaries that you work with. You might even have members. You will no doubt have different organizations within the community that you have kind of professional working relationships with. You might already be embedded within the local schools and the local organizations in that way. And it's all about leaning on those networks in order to build that crowd and get them kind of championing your crowdfunding campaign and being on this journey with you. You will have a shared passion with people around you, whether that's fellow volunteers or beneficiaries or members, as I mentioned. No doubt there'll be a team of people you can hopefully bring into this with you. And again, that might be friends, that might be fellow volunteers. It could be a group of parents if you're delivering something to a group of youth. It could be that actually the parents want to get involved. So think about who's around you and who can help you with this. So many different physical activity organisations are really well known in the community. Traditional clubs or casks, quite often they are one of those foundations of the community. They're a meeting space, they're a venue, they are, the place you go to for the kids' birthday parties. They host the quizzes each month, whatever it might be. You are really pivotal in your community, and it's about understanding how you can champion that and use it to your advantage. You might have the capacity to run fundraising challenges and activities, so you can bring the community into the actual fundraising side of things with you. Chances are you've got a great network at your disposal, whether that is your participants, whether that is those local organisations or businesses that you have those kind of working relationships with. Lean on those as well for sharing your project, maybe sourcing some of those rewards. And as I've just mentioned, things like alumni or local celebrities that might have either come through the ranks or are known within your community that can just shout about what you're doing for the duration of the live campaign. And then, of course, you will all be having community impact. And it's about highlighting that in everything that you do and helping your crowd or your community to understand all of the wonderful things that you already do and how you're going to be able to either continue to do that or maybe, create even more. So that leads us nicely onto understanding a little bit more about the Movement Fund and the potential to access a bit of funding towards your crowdfunding targets. And to tell us all about it is the wonderful Lucy Gola from Sport England. Hi, Lucy. Thanks for joining us today.
Good morning. Although I suppose technically it's the afternoon as it's after midday, but it just looks so miserable out there.
It's definitely a bit of a blanket duvet day, isn't it, today? I'm hoping
Yes.
everyone's nice and warm, snuggled up somewhere listening to this. I'm going to turn myself off and my mic off. Please
Yep,
just give me a shout to move slides, Lucy, but I'll hand over to you.
perfect. So my role at Sport England is on the investment advisor team. So we have a team of 5 people who are on the phones and the emails to answer all of your queries. And at the moment, our live funding stream is the Movement Fund. So we receive, gosh, loads and loads of calls. So if anyone's got anything very specific they want to ask us, we will share the phone number and email address later on. So you can get in touch with specifics regarding your project and we can perhaps steer you on those. So the Movement Fund has some quite general goals at the top. So we are looking at getting more people active. reducing the number of those that are inactive, but also we want to tackle long-standing inequalities, which through those inequalities, that is where these funding priorities on screen are really coming from. So these are groups of the population around England who we are aware through various research and our active life survey who are dealing with probably a greater challenge to getting physically active. So that might be pressure on single parents, that could be those from diverse communities, it could be those with a long-term health condition or a disability. Those basically that are looking for, well, that need that extra bit of support to help get active. And those are the kinds of projects we want to try and help if we can. So in a nutshell, you can apply to us for up to £15,000. So we can award anything between £300 and £15,000 for your project. That could be given to you as a grant, or that could be given to you as a 50% contribution towards a crowdfunding campaign. So that is where our role as an extra funder with Crowdfunder as our partner comes into play. As an extra funder, you are able to access, you may already have a crowdfunding campaign running, which Zoe was talking about earlier about creating that page. And once you are in that system, it will trigger, depending on what things you have ticked as the priorities for your campaign, it will then trigger which extra funders might be eligible to you. And we are one of those. So if you've mentioned sport, you're a community club, you're fostering new learning, well-being and health, it might be that you'll see the movement fund pop up. So that is probably, I guess, the first indication to you that you could be eligible. But I would definitely recommend getting onto our website and reading the finer details in terms of what it is we can and can't fund. So in general, we can support coach delivery. So if you're needing to bring a specialist coach in to deliver a project, we might be able to help with that. If you need to hire a venue closer to where the community is that you're looking to operate, we might be able to help with that as well. We could also help with equipment. So if you need some specialist equipment to support those groups or additional equipment because those classes that you're running have grown and you're having to run more of them, or you're having to run them in a new venue and you don't have enough equipment to help that happen, we might be able to support with that. Additionally, we can help with small-scale facility improvements. So we want to improve the facilities where people are taking part in sport. So this might be to do with greater efficiencies, to do with your heating and electricity. So you might be looking at solar panels or LED lights for a pitch. You might be looking at improved shower arrangements. We've had a number of different rugby clubs coming into us where historically rugby clubs were mainly set up for men taking part, not really accounting for the fact that women and girls are going to be playing, but also youth teams. And that creates a bit of a challenge when they've only got one set of showers, or showers that are very much sort of based around groups of men taking part. So we have very much been involved with supporting crowdfunding campaigns for those. Also cricket facilities and clubhouses, different bits and pieces. But you don't have to be a traditional sports club to apply. So we also support community groups, and it might be that you're looking to introduce physical activity to something for your community that come in to see you. For example, a dementia cafe might be looking to add some adapted sport activity for those that attend. You might be a charity, local authorities we can support, not-for-profit companies. So that is companies that are guaranteed by not guaranteed by shares, basically. So if you are distributing shares or money out to those that are the directorship, then unfortunately you wouldn't be eligible. But not-for-profit companies we can support. And schools where the projects will have a wider community benefit as well. So we are not able to fund curriculum time sport or sport that is being funded specifically for the curriculum PE time. But we can support projects. Perhaps it's to do with improving a facility item that you've got at the school, but we want to understand a bit more about, have you out of hours, have you got other community teams coming in to utilise that space? So is it hiring? How are you going to look at sustainability in terms of use going forwards? So those are the kinds of organisations and the projects that we might be able to support you with. But if you've got any doubts whatsoever, just give us a call or drop us an email. Do you want to go to the next slide, please? So I kind of touched on this already. So we have two routes to come into the Movement Fund. The first one that I will touch on is just coming across the Movement Fund on the Sport England website. So you might have looked at our criteria, feel that your project is close to what we're wanting to support and what we're looking to fund, and you can start an application directly from that page. That means you'll be coming in, you will submit an application form, you will include a budget, you'll explain to us a little bit of the who, the why, the how, and provide us evidence. So tell us how you know there's a need for this project to happen. One of the things that we can't do is, for example, provide funding for something and then you go out and market it or spread the word. We have to understand a bit more that there's actually a direct need for it and there is interest there already. So do your research first. And also we want to understand how the community that's wanting to take part, how have they helped perhaps form that application in terms of the activity that's going to be delivered. So you would come into our application system and you would provide that information. Once it's submitted, we will pass it to an assessor and we will aim to get a decision back to you within 6 to 8 weeks. Now that result could be that you get a grant for that project, or it might be that you receive that 50% contribution towards a crowdfunding campaign. So that gives you two routes of sort of positive when you come out of it. Obviously, not every single application is going to be successful. There is huge demand out there for our funding, and we always, as part of that process, have a moderation phase where all projects are not only assessed by the original assessor, but we also provide additional reading groups to ensure that the right decisions are being made across the board. So we do have a moderation process as part of that. Now, if you're already crowdfunding, which is where Zoe had touched on that creation of the crowdfunding campaign, and I highlighted that Movement Fund might be something which is it will show as a pop-up to you when you're in your campaign dashboard saying you could be eligible. At that point, that is where you will be triggered to complete a short application form, very similar to our one that's on the Sport England website, asking similar kinds of questions. So it is different to your campaign page. So your campaign page in itself will have that storytelling there, and that is also what we want to see. But within the application, we need to hear a bit more about the specifics. So how do you know it's needed? What's in place? What the budgets are? How have you come up with this project plan? So it's a little bit more specific detail that we will want from you. And again, we will then come back to you with a decision to say, yes, this sounds good. This is something we might be able to help with. We will get you a unique reference number and it will then get passed to one of our assessors for that finer detail of assessment. And similarly, you will then have a few weeks before you get that final decision. We have a team at Sport England, so if you are successful in receiving a 50% pledge, we have a group of us, including myself and Bex, who is also on the call today, where we would be allocated as a case officer for you. So if you do receive a crowdfunding pledge, we will be there to hold your hand through that process if it's not something you are familiar with. So we can take you through designing your page, we can take it through to ideas, proofreading, any queries that you might have about how the pledges work, how they go on the page, at what point our funding lands on the page. Those are all things that we can help with. One of the key aspects, I think, with the crowdfunding campaign is that if we are offered to you as an extra funder and you are successful, we help you get that campaign page ready. Our pledge will land on your campaign when you reach 25 minimum numbers of supporters and 25% of your target. So that is where our money will then drop. Oh, I'm going on to this bit. Sorry about that. If I'm taking over your bit, Zoe. So this is a little bit of the timeline of if you start your campaign page and your supporters start to trickle in. We've already committed in the background that our pledge will land. So we will have it lined up in the background. So as soon as you hit 25% of your target and 25 unique supporters. So say, for example, it's £10,000 that you're aiming for. 5,000 is from your crowd. and 5,000 of that will be from us, from Sport England. So when you hit 2,500 and 25 unique supporters, that's when you'll see our portion land on the page. And then you've just got that final 2.5K to really push to get to that final target. If you don't reach that final target where it says that 100% there, the Sport England pledge would drop away. However, if you have set up your campaign as keep what you raise, you will keep hold of the crowd raise as well. If you meet that 100% target in plenty of time and you still got time left on your campaign, you'll be able to work through into your stretch target. So we won't be pledging against your stretch. We will only be part of that original target. However, the stretch target means that is for you to spend on what you need it to. So our focus is on the project you applied for. Anything extra is a bonus. So that might well be going back on in within exactly the same project, or there might be other areas of your club or your organisation that needs some additional support to get things going. All right.
Thanks, Lucy. Sorry for jumping ahead there. I thought, oh, she's talking about the milestones.
All of
Bring
a
up
sudden,
the
I was like, hold on a
graphic.
minute.
And rather than me kind of repeating things, I think you covered that really well. And any questions about that specific, about kind of the pledge landing and things, that's something that, we can always go back over if people have got any questions about that. And we've got some great FAQs as well on the website about actually how that kind of mechanism works. But essentially, I think the key information is the pledge from Sport England becomes part of your target amount. You do not have to reach your target and then receive money from Sport England. So factor it in when you're thinking about how much you need to raise, factor in that potential pledge from Sport England for your kind of total amount, because that trips people up sometimes. Thanks, Lucy. Lucy and Becky are going to join us for the Q&A at the end. So please pop any questions about the fund into the chat box and we can go over those shortly. And we'll see you soon. Thanks, Becky. Thank you, Lucy. See
Thank
you in a
you.
mo. Okay. Right then. So I've mentioned rewards a few times, and that might be a completely new concept to some of you on the call. The way that rewards work, it's essentially giving something back to your supporters for their financial contributions. I like to think of it in the same way as maybe an in-person raffle. So you've gone out to the local shops, you've gone out to your local community, you've gone out to your network, and you've gathered some different products, maybe some services, maybe a few experiences like tickets to things, and you're going to list those onto your campaign page rather than just keeping them for an in-person raffle. You're actually going to list them on your page and also put a price point to those things so people can actually claim them via your crowdfunding page. So the best way to do this is if you are being gifted different items, services, products, merchandise, whatever it might be, think about what the recommended retail price is for that item and then list it at about 10 to 20% cheaper than that on your crowdfunding campaign. That is potentially going to incentivize somebody to claim that reward from your campaign rather than just buying that item or going direct to that organization or business. The other way that it can work really well, so not only incentivizing people to give to your campaign, think about those businesses or organizations within your network. Think about this being a really lovely collaborative marketing opportunity for both of you. So let's just say you've gone out and you've collected some vouchers for your local restaurant, high street restaurant. It's a kind of independent restaurant. It's a local family owned, let's say. So you're going to approach them and ask if they might be able to contribute a few vouchers, maybe one or two. You'll list those on your page, and what you're going to do is any promotion that you do around that particular reward, you're going to make sure that you're mentioning that lovely local family restaurant for gifting those vouchers to you. You'll also maybe ask if you can pop up a poster or some flyers in that local restaurant and also tag them into any promotion that you're doing online. Ask them if they'd be so kind to talk about your crowdfunding campaign with their customer base. Make sure that you are sharing the information about you having this lovely reward with their potential customers. It's going to help their customers get a bargain. That's great. And support something really worthwhile through your crowdfunding campaign that's ultimately going to be positive for the community. And you get a chance to champion local businesses, to shout about these wonderful organizations or businesses that are helping you with your campaign and with your crowdfunding effort. So actually, it's a bit of a win-win. It helps you to get a wider audience as well, because now all of a sudden you can communicate with the customer base that you might not have had access to. So you're in direct communication with the restaurant's customers. It also enables that restaurant to potentially widen their customer base by being, shouted about by you. So actually, you're kind of trying to lift the community up as a whole, and that's the best way to look at it, really. Some nice collaborative marketing, some nice collaborative kind of fundraising and engagement. What we do find is that project pages that offer rewards, they do typically boost that average pledge by around 30%. That doesn't necessarily mean that everybody that's donating or everyone that's pledging are claiming those rewards. So don't be disheartened if you don't see lots of those rewards getting snatched up. The reasons that you might be actually able to raise more if you have those rewards listed is for those reasons I just mentioned. Not only could they incentivize people to give to your campaign or maybe give a bit more, they're also great opportunities to kind of branch out into those wider networks and actually promote your campaign into different audiences, specifically focusing on those rewards that you have and who those might appeal to, whether it's the local restaurant's customer base, whether it's people who want to sponsor a certain element of your project delivery, or the club or the organization. You might, target local businesses with that particular reward offer. So it becomes a really good icebreaker for those communications and those conversations around what you're doing, as well as incentivizing people to give a bit more. Okay, this is probably the hardest part of crowdfunding. And I'm going to run through this quite quickly. We will send the slides and the recording through, so you'll be able to look back over this section. Essentially, connecting with your crowd is probably the hardest element. You can have the most amazing campaign page, you can have some wonderful rewards, but if it just sits there on our platform and does not get promoted, the chances are it's not going to be very successful. So you need to know how to engage your audience. So think about your community as a whole and break it down into some really manageable segments, okay? So think about who sits within that little bubble of your close friends and family, who sits within that group of local businesses or organizations, what social media platforms do you have a presence on, local schools, think about local organizations that you might work alongside, think about local press, local radio stations. They are all little groups in their own right, and the way that you communicate with each of those groups will vary. So the thing that you're talking about with them may differ. The way in which you communicate that with them will definitely differ. So I will have an in-person conversation with a friend. I might send them, a message. I'll pick up the phone, give them a call. I'm probably not just going to add them to my newsletter and hope for the best. I might, however, create a newsletter for my existing members or my beneficiaries, because that's how I would normally communicate with them. So think about varying ways that you can communicate, what's going to work best for that particular group of people, and also what is the thing about your crowdfunding campaign that's going to resonate the most. Is it that it's an existing member or an existing beneficiary and they know about the thing that you are hoping to raise money for and they will directly benefit? So that is going to be the main hook for them. They want to see this thing happen. It might be that you can offer some discounted sessions or discounted membership as a reward. And actually, that's who you're going to target that particular promotion with. You're going to reach out to that audience. For your friends and family, it could just be that they love you and they want to support you and what you're doing. So that's going to be the hook there. Local businesses, it might be sponsorship or asking for those rewards. We'll shout about you to our audiences. So think about what will resonate with them, how you're going to communicate with them, and do always make sure you keep in contact with them. Post regular updates, reach back out and thank them for their support. Give them a nudge if they've not engaged with you. It's really important to stay kind of reactive and engaged throughout your live campaign. And the best way to do that is to have a bit of an idea of who you've communicated with, how you've done that, and then maybe the status of that. So a simple spreadsheet or something is probably the best way to keep on top of that. especially if you've got a group of people working on this with you, and then you all know where you're at, you're all on the same page, you know what actions need to be taken, you know what the status of your communication is, and then you can reach back out and action anything that needs actioning throughout the live campaign. Okay, and we can also share templates if needed on how to do that. Just some top tips then before we go to our projects and our Q&A section. Be sure to start strong with your crowdfunding campaign. Those first few days are really quite crucial in kind of getting that momentum going and really creating that sense of credibility around your crowdfunding campaign. So if you can, try and secure some pledges ahead of time so that you know when you go live, you can reach back out to that group of people and get some of those donations on your page before you then start shouting about it to a wider audience. I would always recommend having 2 dates in mind. Maybe a bit of a soft launch where you go live and you reach back out to your core crowd. So that might be friends, family members, people who are close to your project. And then maybe a few days later, I would schedule a more public launch. And that might be where you start sharing things on social media. When you put something into a newsletter, maybe you reach out to local radio, all of those types of things. That way, when somebody who is maybe 4 or 5 steps removed from your project or from your organization looks at your campaign, there is already money raised, there is already support, and that is going to give them more confidence to actually support you as well. The last thing you want is to shout about your live crowdfunder, have people come and look at the page, and there's no money raised yet. That's going to have them kind of waiting to see what happens. They're not going to be confident parting with their money just yet. And actually, that's kind of going to stall your momentum. So try and think about that strategically. Soft launch, get some money on there, more of a public launch, and just keep that momentum going. Set realistic goals. That might be your target. Think about the minimum you need to make this idea happen. If you have quite a large target, think about how you can break that down into achievable milestones and goals throughout your live campaign that you can promote in that way. You know, if we raise X amount of money by the end of this week, we will be able to buy this piece of equipment, deliver this part of our project. That's going to be easier, more palatable for your supporters to kind of get to grips with. And you can even do that on your page. Break down your expenditure and what you need and what that's going to actually achieve for you in kind of more palatable milestones. It's definitely going to help your supporters to engage. Telling your story, so be engaging with what you're doing, be clear and concise as well, and transparent in how you're going to spend the money, always being authentic. So showcasing your personality, showcasing the personality of the organization, being upfront and honest. You know, letting your community know that maybe you are a charity or you're a social enterprise or you rely on funding to be able to deliver X, Y, and Z. Quite a lot of the time, your wider community might not know that and think that actually you are completely self-sufficient, self-sustainable. You've got these income streams because people obviously pay for sessions. So, you know, why is there a funding gap? There will be reasons, and it's okay to be transparent about that and help your community understand. And then, of course, stay connected, as I've mentioned. So bring everyone along with you for this journey. We're going to talk to Simon and Joe now. So Simon is joining us from the Basingstoke Sport and Social Club, and they've had a really lovely crowdfunder recently and actually managed to surpass their target and raise £34,000, which is massive, in order to replace the roof of the squash courts to make sure that their participants can still engage with that and obviously kind of make sure that is secure for the future. And also Joe from YMCA Taunton. And they've done a great job at creating a new space, so kind of developing their existing space to be able to deliver a climbing wall. And now they need to make sure they can equip that. So both these projects have been supported via the Movement Fund. And what would be great is for us to just have a chat about their projects, some of their advice, and any questions that you might have coming through as well. So I'm going to stop sharing and bring both of you into the frame. Simon, let's start with you. Tell us a little bit about your project and why the need for crowdfunding. Why did you choose this as an option for raising money?
Okay, so this is actually our second crowdfund. So the first crowdfund was about 4 years ago when I'm a squash player, we're in a squash club, and we were coming out of COVID. So our first crowdfunder was I had a mad idea to build an outdoor squash court in the UK for the community. Completely mad, never been done before, raise some money. And I thought we'd try crowdfunding, and the support that I got from Crowdfunder, Sport England, and that, we raised the money, we built the squash court, and it's been used in the community. And time moves on, and I've been banging the drum and saying it is so. I say I tell everybody you should try crowdfunding. The support you get from Crowdfunder, the money that's on the table, why not try it? What's the worst you can do? And that was basically why I'm a real advocate for crowdfund. So anybody listening, do it. It is all the tips that you've heard. I was going to say it's not difficult. It's a bit of effort, but actually, it does work. If you can engage and talk with people, you will get support from some very surprising areas that maybe you didn't even think were there. But it is about just tell everybody. Okay, so all that marketing stuff. Our current campaign is we need a new roof. It's leaking. So it was quite expensive. The current movement fund allows for that capital project, which it didn't in the past. We got some quotes. We knew the target. We went for the maximum amount. We almost thought, what's the biggest project we can get to get the 15,000? I mean, that's literally that was it. And as it was, our roof is a little bit more than that. But we thought, well, let's go for it, and we've surpassed the target pretty quickly. I've got lots of other things I could say, but I think all the be creative. Tell everybody. Marketing. Use all of your contacts. Within your club, within your friends and family. Rewards are really interesting because I would say you make a big thing that you need to have rewards. It's part of almost the governance process that you want to see rewards before you will sort of approve a crowd fund, and that's good. It's interesting. Our experience, though, is that whilst we've got a wide, diverse range of rewards, many of our rewards never got actually bought. Yeah, because people were just happy to donate. Yeah, so you have to put some effort to get the rewards. They may not get taken. As long as you get your money, it doesn't matter. But what is a really good thing by doing that is it means you have conversations with people, either at your club, you find out, oh, you're a local hairdresser, and they will support because they're in the club or your community, or you will talk to other people in your town. And literally, I went knocking on doors of restaurants and things and just saying, you don't know me. If you approach things in a nice way and just have a story and you can engage with people, I was blown away with people who say, yeah, here's a £10 voucher for a meal or a discount, whatever. Great. But then you can go back to them for future events. And if you're running raffles and things at Christmas or whatever, you've a way in to talk to people, and you can go back and say, thanks for your help. Our crowdfund was really successful. By the way, we're doing a raffle. Can you give us a box of chocolates? So there's lots of other benefits that come out of just doing this. I'm going to stop there because Joe, you're on, and you can probably echo or say some other things.
No, I 100% agree with you on the rewards front. It was that was the main reason I decided to do the crowdfunder, because I went on one of these talks with you before. And I had no idea that the crowdfunder done rewards. And I think it's such a way to pull people in. Yeah, and like you, we've had some really interesting offers. Like we got some Nando's vouchers and they just flew out the door. That was incredible. So yeah. And also we're lucky because we've got the sports centre here as well. We've given our own vouchers so they can use a squash court and whatever. But yeah, I highly recommend it. And we was very we didn't know, because it's our first crowdfunder, we didn't know where to pitch it. So we went in low. We only wanted to raise 3,300 to begin with, and we raised that so quickly. I really wish we'd gone higher. So, but
What's great about yours though, Joe, we were talking off camera, weren't we, is you've got a really clear breakdown on your project page to kind of be like, if we raise, the 3,000, was it 3,300 you said?
3,300 for one,
Then
yeah.
you could afford to buy one of the belay, the auto belay systems. And then
Yeah.
actually you've got kind of the breakdown of, well, actually, if we raise kind of the next step, if you
Yeah.
like, we can get two, we can get three, so
Yeah.
you're giving a
Yeah.
really clear goal and milestones to your supporters. And what's clear is that they've kind of taken it and run with it and gone, well, actually, they've raised enough for one, but let's keep going and see if we can get
Yeah.
them to the next. So now you're kind of in that stretch target, and the fundraising hasn't stopped. People are clearly still giving. And I think
Yeah.
that's because you've been so transparent on your page as to where that money's going. And actually, there's additional goals for them
Yeah.
to reach towards. And I think that's that's a really lovely message, is actually having that on there. And that's kind of with any target to be like, this is, if we raise this, we'll be able to achieve X, Y, and Z. If we raise a bit more, we can achieve this, whether it's more belays, whether it's
Mm.
we'll look at another area of the project and we'll kind of develop it over here. So
The
that transparency is great that you've got on your page.
The other thing that I really liked that we was able to do with the rewards is because we've got lots of meeting rooms here, we've done events. So, for example, we done a quiz night and we sold the tickets via the crowdfunder. So again, we didn't know how it would go, so we done it small. But if we were going to do a crowdfunder again, we would have a whole list of like events ready to go
Hmm.
because now we know what it's capable of. I think
Yeah.
we'd be much more prepared
Yeah.
next time.
Oh, I was going to say, doing your second crowdfund is so much easier. I mean, I
Yeah,
did the first one on my own because it was a mad idea,
yeah,
build a
ditto.
squash court. You know, I actually said it was quite a lot of work, but the support you get from Crowdfunder and Sport England is amazing. You know, it's free
Yeah.
support. They'll get on a call, and that makes it so much easier. So once you've done it, I actually said I'll advise the club on how to do the next one. Reality is, people said, "We'll help." They didn't, and I did it all myself. But it was so much easier because I just knew the steps, and I went, "Oh, it's let's
Yeah.
just do it. It's a worthy cause." Um, what we did do, again, this is probably second time round, more creative. So our target was £30,000. Yeah, we hit. So within our junior, I got our juniors involved, and whereas a sports club, you've got lots of other kids involved. So basically, we have a challenge. They're all being sponsored to hit 30,000 squash balls. So mums and dads, and effectively it's like a little sponsorship idea. For
Just
every.
writing that idea down. Thanks.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And for you, how high can I climb? How many walls can I climb? Whatever. But what it means is there's a nice little bit of competitive challenge, and we've got about
Yeah.
30, 40 juniors, and they're all running off to their mums and dads and grandparents and friends and school friends and saying, "Oh, and we ran that in the same duration of the crowdfund." So actually, our crowdfund closes next week, and it's they're all vying to see who can hit the most balls, and for each ball there's another penny into the pot. So that's just something we came up with,
Mm.
and we have a bar. People are buying us, but we just said we've just got a pot that says, put an extra pound on your pint, and people,
Yeah.
so people are just, and it just builds up.
Mm.
Every little bit helps, is what I would
We've
say.
got this is completely random, but we've got a little campaign going again just to put the money in the pot. We've got these little Christmas ducks that we've hid around the centre. They're little ducks wearing Christmas hats. And again, find it, bring a pound, put it in our crowdfunder pot, and they'll get a voucher for a packet of crisps or something. But
But it's about having that creativity. So anything which is a little bit different just kind of sticks in the minds of your participants or people that are coming through the doors. It doesn't have to be like a traditional kind of, which might feel quite impersonal sometimes. Some of the kind of maybe grants or applications that you're doing behind closed doors, as I've mentioned. The key thing to this is bringing people into it with you. And actually, just want to highlight for those on the call, one thing which is quite a unique, if you like, feature is what you can do is you can set up in such a way with your page so that people can click the become a fundraiser button, and then they're prompted to actually set up their own little pages that they can share with their networks, and everything they raise is kind of funneled onto your main page. So you might do something similar to Simon and go, right, we're going to set a challenge. Here's how you can set up your own pages. And then those pages can be shared into school networks, family networks by those individuals, and they feel like they've got ownership of being part of this as well. So they're really excited most of the time.
I think when
Um,
we do our next crowdfund, so I will take that and
yeah,
actually
fab.
go down that even more. But it's just getting that
Oh, definitely. And I
thing.
think, the fact that you've even integrated it this time around is a kind of a leap from your first time around. So these things can evolve and become kind of more. What's lovely as well is that each of you, by having, one or two crowdfunders, if you're going to come back and do them again, you're already creating this wonderful digital archive of your achievements. So what you can do then is if you have any external fundraising, so offline, philanthropy that might be going on in your
oh,
area.
is she gone?
Oh, am I am I no
You're
longer here?
freezing.
Oh, how about now?
Yeah, you're fine.
Am I fine? I was just saying that what you can do is kind of take your profile link and you can share that with maybe your local authority or maybe some other corporate funders or somebody around you to say, look what we achieved in the last few years. This many members of our community have supported us. We've managed to access match funding. We've managed to raise X amount of money from our community. That's evidencing a huge amount of community impact and support. And that is really beneficial when just applying for funding generally. So use it beyond the kind of crowdfunder campaign time frame, I would say. Think about that longer picture, that longer, impact that you could have with this.
Can I ask Simon a question as he's
Of
on his
course.
second crowdfunder? What time of the year did you do your first crowdfunder? Because your second one is ending this month, is it?
Yeah,
Yeah, so like December, because I'm wondering, because ours ends in 8 days. Oh, it was 9,
No,
8 days.
there was no logic in
Yeah,
when, so I wouldn't say
because
we needed our roof doing because it was going to get
yeah,
wet. So we had a demand. We just
because
needed
I
it done.
don't know whether finishing around December is a bad idea because there's
No,
so much other stuff going on in December, and I know people are likely to be more generous because it's Christmas, but I don't know. It's
I'm
too
not
much.
sure. I think that my view. So we ran our campaign, both of ours, for 6 weeks. Yeah, we told people we started our marketing probably a month in advance. That we've got a crowdfund coming, so you're building and then but that was just. I don't think there's a right or wrong answer to that. It's the time of year, my view. But
And from our standpoint as well, similar. It will be your capacity, your fundraising need as well. So you'll have your own timeframes that you need to work to. You'll have times of the year where you've got more going on. And that might be a good thing because you could probably engage with more people. It might be a capacity thing where you think actually now's not the right time because we're so kind of spread thin. Like you said, Joe, Christmas or the lead up to Christmas can be really positive because people are in kind of a giving frame of mind. However, if you have, a really busy lead up to summer where you're going to be doing events and engaging with people, that might be your time. So just whatever works for you, and finding a way to cut through the noise at Christmas. So that might be having great rewards that you might be able to deliver as Christmas gifts. That might be teaming it up with whatever's going on in your local town, your local community as part of that message. So utilizing what you have around you, whatever time of year, and also what works to your capacity, your time frames, I think
That
is probably the
example
best.
that example you had earlier on, Zoe, that was the Abbots Bromley Cricket Club. They had a Christmas Carol service and they sold 50 tickets as an upfront. So that was actually quite a good way of having some early bird tickets available. Perhaps they were at a slight discount, but they got rid of 50 tickets and that was really quick.
Amazing. And as if by magic, Lucy's appeared. So now we can roll into our Q&A. Great. I think we will allow a couple of minutes after one if everyone's able to stay on the call, just because we did start a little bit later than planned.
I do have a hard stop at 1, so I'm
Okay,
sorry.
that's fine.
If people can
No worries.
contact me afterwards or whatever. But
Does anybody have, or have you spotted, Becky, any questions popping into the chat that we can ask our wonderful Simon and Joe?
We haven't actually. Everyone's been quite quiet on the chat, which is unusual.
Guys,
and in the questions and answers, I actually think it's because so much has been covered today. And like Joe and Simon, it's been lovely to hear you so enthusiastic about the process and all the insight that you've shared. I found it useful to help. So I was noting stuff down, thinking, because obviously myself and Lucy support organisations and project owners through the process. And I was thinking, I'll note that down to share with people. So it's been really helpful. And I've done quite a few of these crowdfunding webinars, but listening to you both has been really helpful today. So thank you. We haven't really had any questions, Zoe.
Well, should I tell you what? I think what would be a really good piece of advice then is you can actually, on somebody's crowdfunding campaign page, you can hit the contact project owner button. So if you do have any questions directly for Joe, directly for Simon, you can actually contact them that way and maybe quiz them a little bit. If that's okay, Simon and Joe, I've just literally volunteered your time.
The next 60,000 emails,
Yeah,
but no,
exactly.
that'd be a small number, and that's fine.
They can also donate, can't they,
Of
Simon?
course they can. That maybe that should be it. You'd be like, I will answer your question for a small fee.
No, just a pound.
On the crowdfunding page. No,
Absolutely.
maybe
no.
not.
But no, it's not what you know, it's who you know, and literally it is that connections, and that's what it's all about. The platform is great. It's easy to use. I am so impressed with what is there, and just just do it. If you've got a need, think of what you're going to do over your Christmas lunch and make your New Year's resolution to do your crowdfund. That would be my recommendation.
And also, I'd say, I know you do have to spend a lot of time planning it, but you could be planning forever. So once you've got a bit of info, just put it live, because otherwise you'll be planning forever.
Well, and I'll share something. I know this is factual, so I'm not telling anything. So we're a multi-sports club. We sit under an umbrella, but we have a squash section, rugby, cricket, football. We're all independent with our own committees, bank accounts, yeah. And effectively, we can be treated as 4 separate organisations. So I'm desperately telling everybody, rugby, run your own crowdfund and get the 15,000. Cricket, run your own, yeah. So you can actually, because as long as you are separately governed. So if there's anybody on here, I know I'm talking to sports clubs that have multi-sports clubs, we are squash, we've led the way, but encourage them all to think of their own needs, because you can do it in different pots and just take advantage of what's there. That is all I can say to people.
I like that. And I think, having an understanding of what you can offer as an organisation is important. So thinking beyond your existing memberships and your existing participants. So whether that is venue space, Joe, like you mentioned, meeting rooms, whether that's, doing something different, and maybe you don't offer things like birthday parties or team building days, but you might have capacity to just do that and offer a few as part of your campaign. Being creative, I think creative, collaborative, and involving your community are all going to be positive things. And both yourself, Joe, and Simon have done that incredibly well. I mentioned about contacting people via their crowdfunding campaigns. I recommend that everyone takes a look at the platform anyway and get some inspiration from either those in their area. Oh, thank you, Simon, so much for your input. It was lovely to have you here. And good luck with the last few days. Smashed it anyway. You're over your target, but he's done incredibly well. But yeah, taking some inspiration from projects that are either within a similar field to you. So whether they're practicing the same sport or physical activity, or maybe they're just within your locality. So actually, you may be surprised to find your local bookshop or your local pub or your local, high street hairdressers have crowdfunded, whoever it might be. Go and talk to them, drop them a message and get some advice. Everybody that's done this successfully is more than happy to kind of share some tips and hints, and it will get you thinking about creative ways to connect with people. Thank you so much, Joe and Lucy and Becky, for joining me. It's been a really great session with some brilliant insight. And Joe, I know you've only got 8 days left. If all of us on the call donate a little bit, we might get you that additional belay as well. So
that'd be great. That is what I'm doing for the next week, is just nagging people, basically. Yeah.
You'll get there. I love it. And this is the start, isn't it? This is kind of the template now to hopefully be able to get yourself to was it 15 that you're hoping to get to ultimately?
Ultimately, yeah. Yeah, ultimately.
Amazing. Well, you've done a great job so far. You should be super proud of your efforts. Any questions for Sport England? Let me just pop the remaining slides up here. You can contact Sport England directly. We've got a huge amount of advice and support available to you. So please do engage with us at Crowdfunder as well, whether that's webinars or drop-ins, tailored advice, and your kind of your dashboard is what I'm trying to say, which is where you can see your different matches and who you can apply for. But if you do want to contact Sport England directly about your particular project, please do so either via email or on the phone. And you can contact us as well, and we can triage your questions to the relevant team. All that remains is to say a massive thank you to everyone on the call, Joe for joining us and telling us about your incredible project, as well as Lucy and Becky, and wish you all the very best of luck with any fundraising that you're hoping to do through Crowdfunder and accessing the Movement Fund. Thank you so much, everyone.